Right, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining the first CRM webinar. First things first, who are we? So I'm Amelia. I'm CRM Manager here at NOVOS. For anybody who doesn't know who we are, we're an e-com first agency. We specialize in CRM, digital PR and SEO. Historically, the business was just SEO and PR. However, because of the trend of rising acquisition costs, the business wanted to introduce more organic channels, so decided to expand into CRM this year. So that's where I came in. I joined the business at the beginning of the year to build out the service, and we're ready to go. So I have 9 years experience in marketing, with 6 specifically in CRM. Most of my background's in fashion, but I've also worked in other industries in the past as well. So I'm joined today by Richard Jones. Hi, Rich. How are you today?
Hi, Amelia. Really good, really good. Sun is shining and spring finally feels like it's here.
Good, good. So Rich and I worked together during the COVID years. So we were working together at a pretty turbulent time in e-com, I think it's fair to say, working in a fashion brand where stores were closed and it was all hands on deck for e-com. So pretty crazy times. Thank you for joining me today. Obviously, I know you pretty well. I'm sure I'll get to know you a little bit better today, but could you just give me a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, delighted to. So I'm Richard Jones. I'm Director of Engagement at Tide. We're a kind of a small business financial services platform enabling kind of 1.5 million kind of businesses in UK, Germany and India to save time and money when they're kind of running their business. My background is scarily over 2 decades of working in CRM. That number still frightens me every time I think about it. For brands such as Coffin Warehouse, Dixon's, Currys, PC World, Haven Holidays, the dearly departed TM Lewin, Crew Clothing, before I decided to jump off into the world of kind of fintech and financial services.
What made you want to make that move?
Good question. I got to the point where I was working in retail and it was going through the same pattern in every role I was doing. It was like, okay, right, we've got new season launch. This is what we do. We're here. I'd stop using my brain. So it was very much a case of just wanting to go off, do something a little bit different, kind of stress myself again, think about things in a new way. And luckily working in CRM, that's a very transferable skill set. And my fantastic boss, Heather, took a chance on me and kind of gave me opportunity. And hopefully I've at least partially paid her back for that trust.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I've worked with you before, and yeah, I can say you're a big asset to a team.
Thank you.
So, what made you want to work in CRM in the first place? I guess.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I kind of drifted into it to a certain degree. My first role, kind of coming out of university, was actually working for a big insurance company in promotions. So lots of black tie dinners, lots of events. I mean, we used to call ourselves beers and brollies. So getting the merch out into the world, kind of smooth to clients. From there, I joined a promotions agency, working more on the campaign side than the events. And then from there, obviously, kind of, that really clear link between communications, data, and performance just triggered something in my brain. And I think, kind of looking back now, I mean, my brain loves solving problems. So working in CRM, there's plenty of those that you have to go and address. And I get a real kick out of delivering numbers as well. So CRM just suits my brain. So yeah.
Yeah, I relate.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing about working in CRM?
Oh, it's delivering. It's the problem solving and delivering the numbers. So my brain gets hugely excited by, oh great, there's something new that we have to go off and figure out. It goes into overdrive. And I think one of the things I'm fairly good at, hopefully, is being able to think on my feet. How do you address the new? How do you put together a really robust solution of something that's, often quite vague, that's just nascent and new, and mapping something out from the 0 to 1 is what I really love doing.
Yeah, it's great being able to work across all different departments in the business, being able to influence all different areas. It's great fun.
That's it.
Yeah. So, got to ask, what's a career highlight for you? What's your favorite problem you've solved?
Oh, good question. The favorite one is actually something I've got coming up in about 3 months that I can't tell anybody about. We've got something kind of massive launching, in a couple of months. But overwhelmingly, kind of the things I'm most proud of kind of throughout my career have always been the teams that I've built. The kind of the people that you bring together, kind of getting them kind of up, firing. just being amazing CRMs, amazing people, and still in touch with a lot of them today. Hence, kind of while we're talking today.
All right. So thanks a lot for that. So obviously now you know who we are, and why are we here today? So as I mentioned earlier on, cost of acquisition is rising. We all know that anyone in marketing knows that. So because of this, we do need to focus a little bit more on retention. Working on the agency side, I'm increasingly seeing brands that are focusing too much on commercial messaging, discounting too often, losing margin, trying to drive immediate sales, not really sure where to start on branding, and needing to improve relationships with their customers, but not really sure where to start. There's a lot of competition in the market. It's like a jungle out there at the minute. It's important to differentiate yourself, but again, a lot of people don't know where to start, particularly in small teams that don't have CRM in-house. So really, we're here to tell you how to do that. So I think, again, knowing where to start is identifying, like, who are your best customers, I suppose. So Richard, in your experience, where would you normally start? I mean, you've worked in different industries, so have I. How do you know where to start when you're identifying who your best customers actually are?
Okay, so look, if you haven't done this exercise at all, then the first number you need to look at is the profitability per member, not the revenue. Absolutely not the revenue. Look at the profitability. I mean, we've worked in the retail world where we know, particularly in female fashion as well, the returns rate are astronomical. And very often, your highest spending customers aren't your most profitable ones. So get that really clear measure of profitability overall, and then break that down into really kind of whatever metrics are key for your business. So I think one of the best areas to look at isn't just, single item purchase, it's how much of their range are you buying? So, are you just, for example, when I was at Team Lewin, most of our customers just bought shirts. The Uber loyals and the Uber VIPs also bought, pocket handkerchiefs, ties, suits, casual wear. So it's that penetration of the range of that member spending with you as well. The more they buy, the stickier they'll be. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the key measure there.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose it's, cross-category, higher frequency probably versus customer lifetime spend, I suppose.
It's exactly that, yeah. And that's even a metric we use in the financial services world. So we look at how many of our products our members use. Yeah. So, I think we offer about kind of 15, 16 kind of different options options and tools for our members at the moment. And we know that the members who are using high frequency, that are going to be stickier for longer. They're going to be better revenue customers. They're going to have, better enabled businesses overall as well. So, that helps, improve the lifetime of their businesses as well as ours. But yeah, that range penetration, I think, is one of the absolute key measures. That tells you value of the member, but also just how engaged they are overall kind of with your brand and with your product.
Obviously, you mentioned profitability. So I think I've also seen in businesses where CRM teams and performance teams kind of working in silo, and CRM teams not necessarily looking at the cost of acquisition. Would you say that it's more important in CRM than people are giving it credit for?
Oh, yeah, you absolutely have to work hand in hand with your acquisition guys. You do. So they're going to be bringing members in through the business. If they're bringing in, poor quality members, so, they're coming in, making a one-time purchase and then kind of disappearing off, at a heavy discount, that kills the ongoing metric for the rest of the business. So yeah, get a really clear view of what the CPA is, the quality of the members coming through, and kind of build that feedback loop back into that team as well. And then work hand in hand, not only, to improve the quality of the members coming through, but also, when you're taking a member through that early life period. So to get them from 1 to 2 to 3 transactions, in retail, that's where they start becoming sticky. Yeah. So yeah, have that really defined pathway. So match how they're being acquired. And again, if you are bringing them in on a discount, evolve them through into full price member as well as quickly as you can. And you've got to have really clearly defined journeys on that one. Because as you mentioned, a lot of retailers use discount. And discount is a drug that a lot of retailers are addicted to. So, you need to drop in some almost kind of methadone for that discount as well. And that's when you start getting into, kind of some of the added value pieces, managing the lifetime through. Second discount needs to be a little bit less of a discount than first purchase, and just evolve that member through so you get as many as possible back into the full price. You'll never get everybody. I mean, there's no such thing as a 100% conversion campaign. But, if you can take 5, 10, 15% of members from a discount customer to a full price customer, that has a material impact into kind of your business's bottom line.
Yeah, it's basically your quality customers. And we've got another guest.
Sorry, everybody. This is Dixie the cat. She's a frequent kind of attendee on my calls. So
nice to meet you. Yeah, so it's the value of a customer, and I think certainly it's important to, like you said, create the feedback loop, make sure that the people who are driving that traffic and those leads know the value of what they're doing. I've seen it in the past with retail, understanding the value of signing somebody up for messaging can make a huge difference. And I suppose kind of obviously we're talking about cross-department stakeholders, but how have you in the past? Because I think it can be tricky generally with CRM, getting buy-in from different stakeholders when you're kind of working on a different. You're working to a different end. You're looking at the longer term. Most of the time, you're looking at longer term benefits versus that immediate sale. How have you in the past got buy-in from other departments on when you're identifying customers? Like I said, your best customers, it's really easy to fall into the trap of, well, they've spent the most. How have you got buy-in from other stakeholders in the business?
Yeah, well, this is where the number storytelling kind of comes in. So, you run small scale tests, you come back with evidence. You make those decisions based on data, and that's what you go into the business and tell the story on, saying, right, we've been running this quietly in the background. We've seen a 15% increase. We're going to do more of it. And then while you're doing that as well, is you still have to trade the week. You have to trade the day, the week, the month. So, you've got to deliver those numbers. So if you're not delivering the numbers, that just pushes your time back into the day to day. That pushes you back into that stress behavior. So it is a case of building trust by, always delivering your numbers. But then over time, you start to evolve with new initiatives. So A/B test, run test, do things quietly in the back end if you can't get internal buy-in.
Yeah.
For a large scale project. But then just stop building up this weight of evidence on, look, this is what we want to go off and do. These are the benefits. This is what we're already seeing. This is how we're going to grow it over time.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Secret testing. We love it. Just always test. I think people test something once and then it doesn't work and they don't come back and try again. Your database changes, your customers change.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think the way you tell the story as well depends on what type of business you're in. Obviously, we spent our time in fashion retail, which can be very emotive, which can be very creative. I don't like using the word fluffy, but it can be very fluffy.
Yeah.
And, as CRMers, you have to be able to tell those number stories in a way that kind of the non-numbers people understand as well, kind of really set the vision. So, if you're pitching to your CFO, then, the numbers come to the fore. If you're pitching to your creative director, to a brand-led business, then, you've got to make it a bit more visual, a bit more emotive, kind of really push the inspiration elements of it as well. Yeah. And then, but then obviously kind of always underpin with those all important numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Storytelling is important.
Yeah.
So we've kind of touched on a few bits for this, but is there any other metrics you think we've missed that we haven't talked about that helps you understand customer value, engagement, anything like that?
So engagement's interesting, but for me, it's part of the funnel. And I think kind of understanding your funnel as well is important. So, what does a browse do over the next kind of 7, 14, 30 days? What does a click on an email do? What does a store visit do? So, and just kind of getting that really clear kind of understanding of the pathway to purchase as well.
Yeah.
Because again, kind of different retailers will have different pathways to purchase. So during days with electricals, so somebody buying a TV will start Googling TV 60 days prior.
Mm-hmm.
They'll browse, they'll visit the store, they'll showroom in the store, but it will take them up to 2 months to make that decision.
Yeah.
Then at the other end, around, you got your supermarket, you got your Sheins, you got your fast fashions, where it's a 10-second decision. Okay, I love that. I'm going to buy it.
Hmm.
I'm going to throw it in the basket. So it's just having that understanding of how your members behave and kind of what that ultimately ends in terms of that net profitability as well.
Yeah. This answer makes me want to talk about attribution, but that's a whole webinar, isn't it?
And if you're out there thinking your attribution is horrible, it doesn't work, it's really complicated, yeah, it is. Everybody's in that same boat. It is. So whoever fixes attribution is going to retire a very, very rich person.
Yeah, too right. It's a common problem. Okay, so I guess the next thing is activations to help boost retention and nurture all of your existing best customers. So what kind of automations have you seen success with in the past in different kind of businesses?
See, I'm a huge advocate of behavioral trigger comms. So in the retail world, that's browse, click, abandon. In kind of, in the banking world, it's kind of transactional information that we can pull through. So so you're spending at this retailer, do you get a little bit of cash back? Have you browsed on the accounting tool? Have you got another integration with the accounting tool? So just those little nudges that kind of tells you what a member's interested in. It comes back to this, the whole kind of what's the pathway to purchase. They're just little unconscious hands up that members and customers kind of make all of the time. So kind of mapping through those interactions, if you get that kind of pulling back into a central customer record, that becomes incredibly powerful. It really, really does.
Yeah, I think it's underestimated how much you can learn from how your best customers are performing as how you then want your other customers to then perform. So you're trying to influence a desirable behavior, I suppose. I think that's underestimated.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing about VIPs is very often, you're going to have a massive share of their wallet anyway. So there's not always a lot of incremental value from them.
Yeah.
They very much go into, to protect the white glove service, treat them like VIPs to maintain that loyalty. But then if you can get the understanding of how they behave, then you can start going into your database and go, okay, right, we've got this segment of customers here who look exactly like VIPs, but they're only in kind of like the third, fourth decile.
Yeah.
They should be VIPs. What can you then do to move? And that's kind of where, that growth revenue and kind of that opportunity exists.
Yeah. So it's those small tweaks that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's it. And go off, speak to your VIPs, understand kind of what their motivations are. Why are they VIPs? So get that real understanding. And then you can start using those again, kind of as the initial kind of go to market to kind of grow the other segments. But then kind of once you're in there, just go in and have a play, have a test, try things, fail, just pull some levers and see what happens.
Yeah. I think, like you said, for feedback, I think reviews are massively underutilized as well. They sit siloed in a customer service team and they're potentially not leveraged properly into making improvements in the business and the product.
And actually complaints is a massive opportunity. So, somebody's had a bad experience, they've taken the time to tell you. But if you can turn that around and turn an unhappy customer into one that then gets incredible service, they're going to be more loyal. They are. I've seen it in the metrics when we were at Crew Clothing. We knew that kind of a good CSAT score for a complaint drove incremental revenue. So make sure your customer services team out there are absolutely enabled. I mean, particularly for your VIPs as well. So if a VIP calls with a complaint, you go that extra mile and absolutely kind of go win them back, get them back in and kind of happy.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for how a business responds to a negative review as well. When you see it on in all sorts of industries, is like the way that they respond to a negative review says a lot about who the brand is. And yeah, you're right. If your customer service team needs to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So in terms of personalization, there's so many tools out there now. There's so many ways to activate personalization. But where would you say would be a good place to prioritize personalization, and also where to avoid using it, I guess?
Yeah, good question. I mean, everywhere is the brief on where you should use it. I mean, I've seen so many businesses who only really use it in outbound comms. And even then, it's fairly limited, but personalization shouldn't just be for email. I mean, put that personalization in wherever your members are interacting. So if you have a website, put it into the check-in with the offer box, with the add-ons, the next best product. When you're delivering something, there's some great kind of platforms out there. So Hashiko they can do personalized print inserts that have product recommendations, offers that are personalized to each individual member, which just goes into the delivery pack. So every kind of bit of interaction you have with a member, make it personalized. And if you can't do it at the moment, figure out how to do it. So if you've got an app, get that personalization kind of built into the journey there. If they're going into store, if there's a loyalty card, to kind of tap it, get it up on till screens, just give that little bit of a touch of, hey, look, we know you're a customer, we know you're fantastic, we love you, here's something for you.
Yeah. So you would say don't avoid using it, I suppose.
No, I mean I think the brief is do it, but don't make it creepy. So
yeah. That's the thing. I think it's I think people are kind of coming to expect it, and they're maybe used to it by now. Do you think?
Yeah, that's it. But I think the whole thing of kind of, hey, Amelia, I mean, I try and avoid that. A little bit of name personalization in email is fine. Personalization for me is just about putting relevancy in front of the customer.
Right.
So it's just giving them the right solution that they need, to get the best from your product. They get the next best product through. So personalization for me is about relevancy rather than hey, Richard.
Yeah, rather than we know where you live.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Subtle personalization. Then I think call of the day. So in your experience, can you think of a time that the best use of segmentation you've seen in your career?
Yeah, so I think every CRM has had to ask from their marketing director at one point again, this Spotify Unwrapped, can we do this? So it's a great piece of content that comes out once a year. It uses your behavioral data in a really great, smart way. A little bit of gamification in there as well. This is the segmentation of one. So, you bring in kind of 14, 15 different data points. Every element of it is fully personalized. It tells you kind of, your number 3 listening to the Proclaimers this year. It's just a brilliant bit of really smart, really savvy, really well presented kind of data-led storytelling.
Yeah, it's funny because it almost becomes, people sort of use it as a badge of honor of being, the 0.01%. I have a friend, he's every year 0.01% the top listeners of I think it's Wham.
Oh, okay.
It's a random one, but it's a badge of honor every year, straight up there on his Instagram story.
Don't knock Wham, big fan.
Oh no, no.
But also as well, think about this. I mean, the fact is, he's now the number 1 on Wham because he shared it on social. So these millions of members all sharing their profiles, all sharing the Spotify brand, all sharing it. You just can't buy coverage like that. So it's a fantastic program, and it's often copied now. So it's starting to become a little bit samey. So I'm interested to see what they do next.
Yeah. Keep an eye on. So I suppose just good to know, while we're talking about retention. Again, it can be a whole other webinar, this, but it'd be good to get your thoughts on loyalty schemes, because I know I feel like sometimes people maybe think it's a little bit of a tick box exercise. Getting one live feels like you have to do it because everybody else is doing it. But what's your kind of top line, your thoughts on loyalty schemes?
They have their place, but they're not right for every business. So the only ones that kind of really work well are where you have multiple kind of daily interactions. So banks kind of generally do it well, kind of if you're with that NatWest, Amex, all of those offers that come through. But if your couriers where you get 2 to 3 transactions per customer per year, that probably doesn't work. I mean, clothing retail, possibly, you might have 10 to 15 kind of transactions a year. So you've got to figure out whether the juice is worth the squeeze on this one. You really do. They can be big, they can be clunky, kind of really expensive, difficult to manage. It's an ongoing investment as well. So you launch a loyalty scheme, you are making a promise to your members that this thing is going to be running for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So, and how many have we seen that have been switched on and then just kind of changed, shut down, closed, and you're breaking a promise to your members. So they have their place, but think very, very deeply about whether it's right for your business and whether it's right for your customer.
Yeah, you're right. I think It's that overpromise, underdeliver situation of starting a loyalty scheme and you haven't really thought about whether it's feasible as a business, and looking at the cost of running it versus the benefit. Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of planning, a lot of consideration.
Yeah.
So are there any other activations you think are worth pursuing? I mean, there's been a rise in the use of SMS in the UK in the last few years. What are your thoughts? Is there anything else you think we've missed?
So SMS, and this is when I get very non-data led, very non-scientific. I hate SMS with an absolute passion for marketing. It's been utilized by too many spammers. It has a really bad reputation. It tends to have an incredibly high opt-out rate as well. So you're going to be in double digits opt-out %.
Yeah.
I think WhatsApp is kind of starting to replace that now. If you get kind of members kind of opted into that, SMS has its place, but I think it's more kind of operationally based than kind of outbound marketing for me. Yeah. But again, that's me being very non-scientific, very kind of emotive about the fact that I absolutely hate SMS. But yeah, it's just really, it's just intrusive. It's spammy. I'm not a fan.
Do you think your mind could be changed if it was one of your favorite brands and they did it really well, and they weren't messaging you all the time, and it was very, very, very personal to you? And do you think if it was done correctly, it'd change your mind?
Well, if somebody can prove to me that you can do it really well with a low opt-out rate, that in a way that members love, and it generates, a really good incremental revenue, I can absolutely have my mind changed. I will bury my hatred of SMS in that instance. But yeah, it's a tough sell.
Anyone watching who's doing SMS well, hit Richard up on LinkedIn, let him know. Right.
Yeah, just don't text me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, funny. All right. So I suppose once you've actually done all of these activations, you've got all your automations live, your personalization, your segmentation, all the CRM buzzwords. What would you say are the sort of most important metrics to measure retention? Because there are so many you can use. Again, like we said, boosting lifetime revenue, etc. What would you say are the top 3 most important metrics?
Yeah, good question. I mean, this is, like you said, so this is going to change business to business. But generally, as a rule, I think I've touched on before. So focus on the profitability. So who are your most profitable customers?
Yeah.
What's their penetration across your product range?
Mm-hmm.
Are they single item buyers? Are they multiple item buyers? And then the other one is kind of their frequency and value of transaction as well. So, are they small and often? Are they big and infrequent? Kind of what's their kind of balance of performance? So they're the 3 that I would normally kind of look at, kind of phasing through. The other number, kind of, again, kind of a specific retail example, is kind of how many members are you taking from 1 to 2 to 3 transactions? So what's that curve on the pathway? So an awful lot of retailers kind of, we've got X million customers, but the vast bulk have been one-time members. It's not until a member gets kind of further down that pathway that they become incredibly sticky.
Yeah.
So first to second's often only, 30 to 40% for a lot of retailers. Second to third can be 60, 65. By the time you get third to fourth, fifth to sixth, you've got this kind of 85, 90% kind of retention curve there. And that's where the real value comes in. And again, this is where you tie it back into kind of your acquisition teams. What's the CPA? And that's how you can optimize their CPA and the overall kind of business bottom line as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite simple when you see these retention curves where your problem is, that you can see exactly where to focus your attention, but it's knowing how to get that data and how to turn it into something that you can use, I guess.
Yeah, actionable insights always the challenge.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but how important are your engagement metrics in measuring retention? It's not always about sales, is it?
No, it's not. And I think this is where the kind of understanding your funnel comes in. So, how many members are entering the journey? Are they in research phase? Where are they in the overall measurement? So, if you've got a member who used to buy every 2 weeks, who used to click on your emails regularly, but now they've gone 3 weeks, they've stopped clicking your emails, then that's a problem. So, so make sure you've got that kind of marketing engagement program, including your dropout funnels as well. So, you have your engagement retention rather than your actual kind of transactional retention.
Yeah.
So if a member stops interacting, that's normally a little bit of a warning sign. So
Yeah.
getting their back, rewarm them up, put them into special programs again, just to get them reopening, re-clicking, kind of just re-engaging with the overall brand.
Yeah. So you think maybe churn needs to be broken down into
Behavioral churn and transactional churn. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's key. So how do you, because again, I mentioned it earlier, everybody else is, you're working in a business, everybody knows that the primary goal is to drive sales, and the easy thing is to just drive immediate sales, again, through discounting sales, things like that. And I think people can sort of lose sight of the longer term picture and trying to drive success for many years, rather than, like you say, the week view, the month view.
Yeah.
So again, you mentioned storytelling earlier and using a lot of data, but what have you found has been the best way of sort of communicating the value of the long-term retention activities with everybody else in the business?
Yeah. So on this one, so kind of when I was at Team Learning, kind of one of my kind of line managers put together just a really single one-page sheet saying, right, for the campaigns that we send, this is what we make in profit for each one.
Right.
Kind of abandoned browse was about kind of 89 pence per email. Abandoned basket was about 75. Promotional emails were like 3-4 pence per email that we were sending. Yeah. And that shows kind of the real value of automation. And the more automation you get switched on, you deliver the overall numbers without really having to do much outside of the optimization and, kind of the maintenance elements of it. So you can pull back that, kind of like send a discount to the entire database. We need to get some revenue in. So actually, no, we're going to focus in on building the automations app. Mm-hmm. They're going to sit there, they're going to run, they're going to deliver 5, 10, 15 grand kind of a week kind of coming through. Mm-hmm. And then it reduces the importance of doing the kind of those mass blasts out to your member base. And also means you can get more full price kind of transactionals coming through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Not focusing too much on the discounting piece, I suppose. Yeah, great. And we've talked about this in the past, and you've talked a lot about profitability of customers. So it's kind of well known that comparatively in a business, CRM teams do tend to have quite a small budget, and it tends to sit across. It'll be a fixed price for a platform. You might cover acquisition, so you might have a small budget for that. But how do you prioritize your spend to ensure the best return?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, you've got to have fantastic tech. You do. So you've got to have kind of really good smart data. You've got to have a really good, intuitive, easy to use, fully personalized kind of email platform that can kind of, ingest live data and respond immediately. So first off, invest in your platform, invest in a kind of a really good team as well. So, I mean, get the best people you can afford to hire. And then the rest of it is really, so it's about minimizing that discount element again. So, you prove your worth to the business, by generating kind of more margin. That kind of makes the asks for the extra elements kind of easier, whether that's, gifts for members, whether that's a better platform, a new tool, personalization, whether it's litmus for just those elements. So the more money you can pour back to the business, generally businesses will be happier to give you more, proving that, that you can go off and generate kind of more revenue for them based on what you've done historically. So again, focus on delivering the numbers, and that generally kind of helps to grow that. Still never going to be a huge budget, but just help grow that small budget into maybe a moderate budget.
Yeah, just got to think about your incremental growth on your budget every year by your end of reporting, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to trust. It does. So businesses will invest in areas they trust, and that give them a return. So it's proving that to the business you're in, and then over time, it becomes easier to get the extra elements coming through.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And got to ask, what do you've been in the industry for a little while.
2 decades. Yeah.
It's fair to say. But where do you see the future of CRM, of retention? Where do you see it going?
Oh, good question. I mean, the second bullet on this one, I think, is key. So AI is coming. If you're not already using it, start. It doesn't matter where you start, just start.
Yeah.
So kind of, whether it's creating kind of your first draft copy to kind of save you time there, whether it's your machine learning for decisioning, whether it's generating asset imagery, just you have to start using this now. If you're a small business and you're on a platform, that platform will have tools that it's beginning to switch on.
Yeah.
So dig in, learn how to use them. They're there, ready and waiting, willing to be used. So AI, I think, is the future for CRM. And I think teams are going to get smaller. I think tools are going to get better.
Yeah.
So there is going to be pressure within the industry overall in terms of, kind of the available amount of roles. So, but if you can get on board this train now, by the time this becomes kind of really mass market and kind of really ingrained, you're going to be in a really great position to be able to, pitch yourself as an expert in this field.
Yeah, for sure. I actually our head of ops said something really interesting. She said the AI isn't going to replace people. People who know how to use AI will replace people.
Yes, really, absolutely that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you using AI?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, as a wider business at the moment, at Tide, obviously kind of use it in multiple ways. So we use it, for analytics and kind of machine learning, kind of monitoring as well. But within the team, we're using it for copy creation. We're looking kind of through kind of all the other elements at the moment as well. So insight and analytics. So rather than me asking the question to an analyst, I want to be able to ask that question to the platform and get a 30-second answer.
Yeah.
So that's my dream. So yeah, I mean, so in terms of the market elements, we're pulling our first levers now.
Yeah.
But it's been ingrained into the rest of the business for kind of quite some time and will become increasingly so.
Yeah, I think gotta stay ahead of the curve. I think it's gonna be, yeah, I think it'll be big. I think it'll be big for CRM specifically. I mean, obviously everywhere, but I think the CRM, massive personalization at scale and understanding customer data quickly.
Yeah,
and have actionable insights. I think it's gonna be huge.
That's just it. It's there to make our lives easier. It's there to make our tasks quicker.
Yeah.
So use it for that.
Yeah, and again, there's I mean, in every job, I imagine, there are certain tasks that become sort of monotonous and they're very repetitive. I think that's the areas that really you need to focus on when you're using AI, because that's the part that can potentially make your job boring or and that it's set up to kind of take the legwork out for you, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely that.
Frees you up more time to do the human stuff, like the interdepartmental comms. Love it.
Absolutely that. Yeah.
And storytelling, which I think we're still better at that than AI, in my opinion.
And we will, and that's the thing. The creativity elements of AI, that kind of that inspiration, that connection, that's the bit it can never bring. So that's, like you said, where we as humans speaking to other humans, that's where we can have that kind of deciding vote, and we have to be that filter. Yeah,
and when AI can replicate human emotion, I'm out. I'm off. seen too many films.
Yeah, too many dystopian sci-fi coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Great. So this has been really, really insightful. I've really enjoyed it. I suppose just to finish up, I think it'd be good to ask if you were in a business now and you could see your churn metrics starting to increase, and it's a problem, and your acquisition costs are rising, and you're struggling to keep up, and you knew you needed to focus on retention. If you were to activate one thing tomorrow, so if you came in this morning, what would the one thing you would do to have the biggest impact? Low touch, big impact.
The first thing you do is speak to your customers. If there's a problem, they will tell you very, very clearly where you're going wrong. They will. So for all of the data in the world, which is valuable, which can help you kind of, shape the clay of the idea of what's going wrong, speak directly to your members. They will give you that absolute clarity on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and what you need to change. Yeah.
Would you say it's important to invest in some sort of survey platform then? Because I've surveyed customers in the past, and it has been invaluable for all areas of the business. All right.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a really nice one out there as well that I'm a current client of called Quantalope. So based over in the Netherlands, but a really fantastic, easy to use, kind of intuitive platform.
Yeah.
But also with some fantastic kind of data validation tools in there as well. So you can really get to the hub of what's important kind of to the customers in nth degree detail, and it can be done kind of very, very quickly. So that's a little bit of a sales pitch for them. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a couple of those, Rich.
I'm
great.
not on commission. They are genuinely businesses and ideas and people that I like. So yeah, that give value. So
yeah, well, you're not on commission yet, but you know, this time. All right. That was great. Thank you so much for your time, Richard. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
If anybody wants to hear anything else about retention, if they need any help in-house, anything, I'm sure Rich wouldn't mind reaching out on LinkedIn, and you know where I am. So my email address is amelia.clarkson@thisisnovos.com. But if you need anything, reach out on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to have a chat with anyone anytime. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.